What in the world did we see yesterday? Was that a good race? Was that entertaining? A mix of the two? I don't know. We'll try to make heads and tails of it. What teams need to be making some major changes going into the 1/3 mark of the season? The mistakes were definitely bigger in Texas. It was a race of attrition yesterday. We're going to get into it and more next on Racin-n-Braisin. All right, guys, welcome back to Racin-n-Braisin. It is Monday afternoon. I am CJ, and we're going to dive into a couple of things here today. We're going to recap the race. We're going to talk about how the picks fell for me and Mom in the regular season competition, touch on a couple of teams that I think are in need of some major changes now that we're approaching the 1/3 mark in the season. Finally, wrap it up with was it a good race? A couple of things to talk about in the racing. So let's get into it here with just a quick recap of yesterday. Kind of hard to make it a quick recap because so much happened yesterday. Early on with Denny Hamlin blowing up, I thought that was big. Not necessarily so much so for the team. It was just big to see a Joe Gibbs racing car blow a motor like that, and especially in such a spectacular fashion. The camera angles of those flames were fantastic. Some big names were involved in wrecks late. Brad Keselowski, unfortunate to see him in a wreck late. Kyle Busch, a late wreck. Alex Bowman, who was making a late charge, and we'll talk about how that played out for me, was involved in that Bubba Wallace wreck late in the race. Definitely a heartbreaker for Michael McDowell. I know I was pulling for him. I'm sure everybody was there at the end. Would have definitely been a feel-good win for the Spire Motorsports, of course, but for the industry as a whole, and definitely for Michael McDowell, proving to him that he would have been justified in his decision to move over. Even though many people said tires wouldn't really matter that much, we did see the strategy calls of 2 tires versus 4 definitely made a difference. Of course, the heartbreaker there for McDowell that I just touched on, but Chase Elliott as well. 2 tires gamble got him track position, but cost him ultimately once he lost those front couple of spots. He got mired back in traffic and his day was just pretty much done. So like I said, a race of attrition. There were 12 cautions yesterday for 72 laps. I was honestly surprised to learn in the next gen era at Texas Motor Speedway, there have been no less than 11 cautions in each of the races. So Texas is becoming a high attrition race, very unpredictable, as all the headlines are going to say this week, treacherous in Texas, or Texas treachery, or something to that effect. It's become one of those races where you don't know what's going to happen. Very hard to find a good setup there. Those cars are on a razor edge all the way throughout the track. The bumps in 4 played havoc all weekend long. The grass in the dogleg ate up a bunch of cars throughout the weekend. And of course, 1 and 2 is just such a difficult corner. Some of those cautions yesterday definitely felt like I was watching a video game from back in the late 90s or the early 2000s, those old school NASCAR video games, where if you can relate, racing along and in a turn, and all of a sudden the guy in front of you would just spin out. No cause, no reason, just lose it and spin out, and a caution would come out if that happened several times yesterday. The last couple of restarts there at the end definitely felt like a bit much. I don't know. It's just so much going on, so much movement, so much change. We'll talk about whether that was good for racing here in a moment. But let's talk about how everything played out in the regular season competition, the picks from yesterday. I had first pick, and I went with Bowman the Showman. Thought that he was going to be the real deal yesterday, and at the end of stage 2, it looked like he was. He was the car running through the field. He was making moves on everybody. I think he was up to 2nd or 3rd by the end of stage 2, and looked awesome. But he got caught up in that Bubba Wallace deal on a restart, giving him a 35th position finish, which huge points hit for me. For the rest of the race, I was definitely hoping and wishing that Mom's pick of Ty Gibbs was going to either have the same engine trouble that Denny Hamlin had, or maybe he would get collected in one of those multiple cautions that we saw there at the end. He avoided all of that, but ultimately on the final restart, the overtime finish, he got squirrely on the restart and passed by everybody. Ended up finishing, 23rd yesterday? So what could have been a massive points hit to me really wasn't that bad. So a win on both ends. Mom gained 12 points on me, but I only lost 12 points. So I'm now 22 points behind in our regular season competition. One more topic that I want to touch on here before we get into whether that was a good race. Next week will be the 1/3 mark. We're hitting a string of 3 mile-and-a-halfs in a row, followed by Nashville, which is 1.33 miles, and Michigan, which is a 2-mile track. I think this is going to be a point in the season where it's really going to give us a clearer picture of who's going to be making playoff pushes. It raises the question to me right now, what teams are in need of some massive changes going into this stretch and making it out good on the other side? I think first and foremost, the number 9 team. It's been talked about, I think it's been touched on that, the 9 team is looking like the 4th Hendrick car, and that's not good. More is expected out of that 9 team for sure. They've got all the right pieces, all the components are there. They are putting together good finishes, but they're not leading laps. They're not running up front. They're getting those good finishes off of good strategy calls. So teamwork is good, but there is just something that is missing in the dynamic of that team that is causing them not to be up front. Of course, we all know his fan base wants to see him up there. We know the media base wants to see the 9 team up front because that does well for them in ratings. So major changes need to be made, addressed somehow within Hendrick Motorsports with that 9 team, and they need to get it turned around. They're 4th overall in points. I don't know if that's going to be enough to cut it. Top 5s and top 10s are great, but I feel like that team needs to knock off a win before the playoffs start. They need to get some wins under their belts again and get some momentum going in the right direction. Going into the playoffs with no wins for that 9 team, I don't think is a good scenario for them to make any sort of run into the playoffs. Okay, so another team that definitely concerned about everybody is the 6 team. And Brad Keselowski. He's in need of several changes, right? First and foremost, his luck needs to change, right? He's getting caught up in some bad deals. The second thing that definitely needs to change is he needs to get results. That luck changing needs to garner him some results. He needs to start clicking off top 15s, click off top 10s, and then follow that up with top 5s and get that team towards the front. They have the confidence that they have the speed. They have not put the performance together to show that they have speed. So it made me wonder, are we looking at the end of the career of Brad Keselowski? He's 41 now. NASCAR drivers we've seen over the past couple of generations, once they get into their lower to mid 40s, they start to tail off and the career starts to wrap up. Maybe that's what we're seeing. It was kind of posed the other day, maybe the tough conversation is on that horizon for Brad Keselowski about talking about his final ride. The last team that I want to touch on real quick that really popped into my head is the 19 team and Chase Briscoe. You could definitely argue that that is the 4th Gibbs team, and yes, they have had a couple of hurdles with Chase coming into a new program, Toyota, and coming into the Gibbs camp. There's going to be an adjustment, but he came into a turnkey operation, right? Same crew that was there the year before, same crew chief that was there before, the same cars that had been there. And even though Truex wasn't necessarily performing at the top of that level, that car was certainly capable of a whole lot more. You would think that Chase would be able to make the adjustments so far this season to really start click off solid finishes, but he hasn't had them. He's only had 3 top 5s this year, 1 more top 10 included in that, and that's it. Everything else has been outside of the top 15. I think that's a potential issue for them that they really need to turn around here in this stretch, especially considering that they are sitting 15th in the playoff points right now, only 17 to the good, with a lot of drivers that are making good adjustments and turning things around right now. Surprisingly, like Austin Dillon, Ty Gibbs making a good run right now. They could easily surpass Chase Briscoe with a couple of good finishes here in the next couple of races. That's who I'm thinking is really in need of some major changes right now. Let me know who you think is in need of some major changes in the comments down below. Finally, let's talk about that Texas race. Was it a good race? Was it entertaining? I don't think the racing itself was necessarily all that good. We all knew that track position was going to play a pivotal role. We know that the restarts are massively important there at that track. Yes, we knew it was going to be chaos in the first lap or two after a restart, but lap 3, 4, and 5, it would string out, it would get single file, and then there would really be not much in the way of passing. Yes, there were a couple of comers and goers yesterday. My boy Bowman the Showman was definitely a comer yesterday. He was on the go. Unfortunately, got caught up in a mess there in the final stage. Ryan Blaney, boy, man, he was so hard on himself yesterday in the post race. He had the car. Definitely felt like Joey Logano stole one away there from McDowell and Blaney at the end. The cars being tough to drive and on razor's edge, I definitely felt like it made for a compelling race. You didn't know when the next caution was going to come or if it was going to come. It sort of kept the attention, but I was distracted yesterday. I had it on in the background for the majority of the race, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, it seemed like every couple of minutes I was raising my head to see what was happening because somebody else was spinning out or there was some sort of incident or some sort of issue. So there was a lot going on yesterday. But was it a good race? I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest with you guys. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm going to be really curious to see what Jeff Gluck's good race poll is going to end up being this week. The teardown, Bianchi and Gluck definitely had an interesting conversation about that yesterday. I don't have an answer for you, whether that was a good race or not. Very interesting. There was a lot going on, but I don't know that the racing itself was good. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. So that's it for this week, guys. Just like I did back in August, we are putting Texas in the rearview mirror, and we are moving on to Kansas next week. The Truck Series and the Cup Series will be there. I'll have a preview for you guys on Thursday night. Be on the lookout for it. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the cooking how-to videos that I am putting together here for you. Have yourselves a great Cinco de Mayo. Let me know what you guys are cooking for it. You see, I'm doing some chicken fajitas, and I'm going to keep my carbs down today and make myself some cheese tortillas. Until Thursday, guys, have yourself a great week. I will talk to you all then. Thanks. Bye.